Rory McIlroy just had the most important season of his career. He won the Masters, completed the career Grand Slam, passed $100 million in PGA Tour earnings, and entered the Ryder Cup as one of Europe's most prominent leaders. By every traditional measure, his influence in professional golf has never been larger. And yet, inside the rooms where the sport's future is actually being decided, Rory McIlroy currently holds no formal seat at all, which raises a strange question. Is Rory McIlroy's influence in professional golf actually growing or fading? Because there are two versions of Rory McIlroy's influence. One is on the course, and that story is unambiguous. The other is off it, inside the rooms where professional golf's future is actually being decided. And that story is considerably more complicated. Stick with me, because by the end of this, the two versions don't just diverge, they contradict each other. Let's start with what happened in 2025, because it matters more than any governance story. On April 13th, 2025, at his 17th attempt, Rory McIlroy won the Masters tournament at Augusta National. He bogeyed the 72nd hole to force a sudden death playoff against Justin Rose, then made birdie on the first extra hole to claim the green jacket. When the putt dropped, he fell to his knees and wept. He became the sixth player in the history of the game to complete the career Grand Slam, joining Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods. Earlier that same season, he had won the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass for the second time. He had won at Pebble Beach on the PGA Tour. He had passed $100 million in career PGA Tour earnings, joining Tiger Woods as one of the only players ever to reach that mark. He had won a sixth Race to Dubai title. He entered the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black as one of Europe's most experienced and prominent leaders. There is no argument to be made about his on-course influence in 2025. It was the defining year of his career by any objective measure. Golf Digest called his Masters victory one of the most popular wins in the tournament's history. ESPN called it a career-defining moment. Here is where the complication begins. Now let's talk about the other version of McIlroy's influence, the off-course version. In November 2023, McIlroy resigned from the PGA Tour Policy Board, the body that governs player interests and has direct input into the tour's most consequential decisions. He had joined in 2022 as one of the few non-American players ever to serve in that role, confirmed by ESPN. He resigned citing personal and professional commitments, telling reporters he felt he could no longer give the role the time and energy it required. 6 weeks earlier, he had been blindsided by the June 2023 framework agreement between the PGA Tour and the Saudi Public Investment Fund, a deal announced without his knowledge, despite his being the tour's most vocal public defender throughout the LIV conflict. He told reporters at the RBC Canadian Open he felt like a sacrificial lamb. Think about what that means. He had spent over a year as the sport's most prominent voice defending the PGA Tour. He had absorbed the political fallout publicly. He had given press conference after press conference while other players stayed quiet. And the moment the tour decided to negotiate with the very rival he had been defending it against, he found out the same way everyone else did. From a press release. 5 months after resigning, reports emerged that Webb Simpson had stepped down and specifically requested McIlroy fill his seat. McIlroy was reportedly set to return. Then it didn't happen. ESPN confirmed in May 2024 that McIlroy would not be rejoining the board after pushback from other members. He told reporters at Quail Hollow, "I think it got pretty complicated and pretty messy. There was a subset of people on the board that were maybe uncomfortable with me coming back for some reason." That is a remarkable sentence. The player widely regarded as the sport's most prominent active voice, the man who had sacrificed more political capital than anyone in defense of the PGA Tour, was blocked from returning to the board he had helped shape. He has not served on the policy board since. Here is where the story becomes something other than a simple decline narrative, because McIlroy didn't disappear from the sport's power structure. He redirected. In 2022, McIlroy and Tiger Woods co-founded TMRW Sports alongside former Golf Channel executive Mike McCarthy, confirmed by ESPN and the PGA Tour's own announcement. Their first initiative was TGL, a technology-driven, prime-time indoor team golf league built in partnership with the PGA Tour and broadcast on ESPN. The league's first season launched in January 2025 and drew close to 1 million viewers on opening night. A funding round in 2024 placed the reported valuation of TMRW Sports at around $500 million, with future seasons planned for broadcast on ABC and ESPN. In May 2025, McIlroy partnered with private equity firm TPG, which manages over $200 billion in assets, to launch TPG Sports, a dedicated sports investment platform confirmed by ESPN. And in April 2024, ESPN reported that McIlroy was set to receive a reported equity stake worth tens of millions of dollars in PGA Tour enterprises as part of the Tour's player equity program, a direct reward for his loyalty throughout the LIV conflict. He holds that stake as a financial participant in the Tour's commercial future, even without a seat on its policy board. So the picture by early 2026 looks like this. McIlroy has no formal governance role inside the PGA Tour's policy structure, but he co-owns a technology league broadcasting on ESPN. He co-founded a private equity sports fund with one of the world's largest investment firms. He holds a reported equity stake in PGA Tour enterprises, and he is, by every commercial and competitive measure, the most prominent active player in the sport. That is a different kind of influence than sitting on a policy board. Whether it is more or less powerful depends entirely on what you think matters more: the room where decisions are made or the room where capital is deployed. Here is the question the resume doesn't answer. McIlroy spent 3 years as the Tour's most public defender. He gave the press conferences. He sat through the governance meetings. He absorbed the political fallout of positions the Tour quietly abandoned the moment the June 2023 framework agreement was signed. He told reporters in Toronto that day, "It's hard for me not to feel somewhat like a sacrificial lamb." Then he won the Masters, completed the Grand Slam, launched a league with a reported $500 million valuation, partnered with a private equity firm managing over $200 billion in assets. And yet, he has less formal say in how the PGA Tour governs itself today than he did in 2022. That is not a contradiction you can resolve neatly, because the Tour he defended is now being run by a CEO, hired while McIlroy was off the board, governed by a board he was blocked from rejoining, and is still in unresolved negotiations with a sovereign wealth fund whose tactics he publicly opposed for years. He told ESPN in 2024, "I just feel like it's my obligation or duty to try to give back and try to set the next generation of players up like we were set up by the previous generation." That sentence sounds like a man still engaged, but the structures he is building, TGL, TPG Sports, exist outside the PGA Tour's governance entirely. They are parallel institutions, not embedded ones. So, is Rory McIlroy's influence growing or fading? The honest answer is, it's doing both, in different directions, at the same time. On the course, in 2025, he had the greatest single season of his career. That is not arguable. The Masters, the Grand Slam, the Players, the Ryder Cup stage, that version of his influence has never been larger. Off the course, inside the governance structure of the sport he spent 3 years defending, he holds no formal seat. He was denied re-entry to the policy board by colleagues he had fought alongside. The Tour's commercial decisions are now made by a 13-member board on which players hold 6 seats, none of which belong to him. What he has instead is capital, commercial standing, a technology venture on prime-time television, a private equity footprint, and a reported equity stake in the Tour's own commercial future. The traditional version of influence in professional golf was always about governance, the table where the rules are set. McIlroy no longer sits at that table. the version he is building runs parallel to it. And whether that turns out to be more powerful than a seat on the policy board, or simply more comfortable, that is the question his next decade will answer. Grand Slams don't answer it. Power structures do. If you want more content like this, the structures, the money, and the forces beneath the leaderboard that actually shape the game you love, subscribe to Legacy Wedges.